Hey guys, how's it going? Today I just wanted to do another video talking a little bit about the Battle of Gog and Magog, just talking about what that could be. I did do another video mentioning this, what I think this battle will be like, but I'm just going to kind of talk a little bit about the other theories, the other perspectives about this, just some of the ideas floating around, and I'd also like to hear from you guys what you guys think that this battle will be like. So, what I believe is, that verse where it says, I believe it's in Revelation 20, verse 8. It says, "And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea." I want to analyze this verse a little bit. Now, the Battle of Gog and Magog, you guys know who I think Gog and Magog is. You guys saw my other video. If you haven't, you could check it out. But I do believe like it has to do with America, America and its leader. However, there are other theories out there we can talk about too. Like I just find it interesting, like the wording about this, like how it says. It's first talking about the devil, right? It's talking about when the devil is loosed, how he's going to deceive the nations. But then it's interesting how it has like a comma, and then it says Gog and Magog. I don't know if anyone else notices that, but I just kind of find that interesting, like how they have the wording. Is that like, did God put that in on purpose? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'd like to hear what you guys think about that, but I find that interesting, like in verse 8. So, let's go back to verse 7, right? It says, "And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison." So we're talking about Satan here, Satan being loosed. And then in verse 8, it says, "And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth." That's talking about the devil, talking about Satan. But then it has a comma and says Gog and Magog. So, could it be like, there's like other things, like because it has this comma, could this be like the nations, right? Are the nations who he's deceiving in the four quarters of the earth, is this Gog and Magog? Or is this kind of like because it's just kind of saying it's sort of like God adding this in, like with a comma, like the devil is going to deceive them, but then also adding in Gog and Magog to the mix, and that's exactly why I think the way I do with the 1776 America and its leader being Gog and Magog, and then why they're involved in this battle at the end, right? And then after it says Gog and Magog, it says to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And it's talking about this battle, right? And then it's interesting, just the wording is interesting, like you could kind of parse this in different ways and stuff like that. But you know what I think, like I think that this battle is at the end, America will have a role in it, but I believe, with the deep state running everything, America is just like a main character in the whole thing. But really it's the deep state running everything, they're just like using America. And that makes sense with why 1776 would be the year the little season began, when Satan was loosed, when America became a nation with the Declaration of Independence, and then of course, the Illuminati was founded the same year. Just all these things connected together seem to make me come to that conclusion. I don't know what else it could be, but there are some other ways you can interpret that, and I do find it interesting how there is a comma and then it says Gog and Magog too. Like, I just find the wording interesting. So, but yeah, that's very interesting. So what is this battle then? With Battle of Gog and Magog at the end, when Satan deceives the nations. We already know Satan's deceiving the nations already, but then we know at the end there's going to be a battle. Now, like I said, I think this is going to be like, in my previous video I talked about this, it's going to just be a general battle, but there are some other theories about it too, right? So I think it'll be a general battle, World War III. I think it'll be World War III, and it will involve the Arctic. And the reason I think that is because, it says that they'll just compass the saints, and I believe the saints are in the Arctic. The camp of the saints are in the Arctic, hovering in the air, and that's New Jerusalem, and the North Pole hovering up in the air. So when this battle happens in the Arctic, they're actually literally compassing the saints, right? They're circling them. And so That's why I think that, right? So I don't believe it's directly correlated with Ezekiel 38 to 39, because I believe Ezekiel 38 to 39 happened already. That was a literal thing that happened. It talks about horses and horsemen. Those events happened. But there could be a little bit of dual prophecy, but I don't know if it's exact, right? Like, but there's like always little dual prophecy from there and some other places in Scripture as well, right? But I just don't know if it's exactly like that, like it's literally battling the saints. But I just wanted to talk about those other theories of what it is, right? So I believe it's a general war in the Arctic, but, you know, could involve the Northwest Passage and then, you know, oil in the Arctic and stuff like that, and then the end comes. But other people may believe it could be a literal battle against the saints, which is also plausible, right? So the theory is that, you know, the camp of the saints, they you know, there's some different theories floating around, like could be like an alien deception, like an alien invasion. I used to think this actually, that they'll say like it's aliens that are trying to come down or something, but it's really the camp of the saints, and then people will battle against them thinking that it's aliens and stuff like that. I heard some other theories, like I heard some theories that it's allegorical, like it's just a general attack on the saints. Now, it's kind of a slippery slope, right? Because then, I mean, to what extent can you make everything like allegorical in the Scriptures? Like there's certain things like, you know, we should probably take literally. There's certain allegories, like when it's allegorical, but when it's literal, we can tell that it's literal. So, I mean, it could be a slippery slope in that case, but it could be both, really. Like it could be both persecution, like an allegorical sense, encompassing the saints' persecution in general near the end, but then also the literal battle, like the literal event of the battle. So I could see there being both too, right? And that would also make sense with things repeating, like from the Great Tribulation, how there was, which happened already, how there was persecution. That could repeat, and there could be persecution in general happening near the end as well against believers. So in that sense, it could be both, and that can repeat as well. So that could happen too, just general persecution. But I also think there will be a literal battle too. So yeah, there's lots of different theories floating around. Some people think slightly allegorical, but like in terms of, you know, like the nations, sort of like thinking like, you know, maybe America is going to take over the northern nations, you know, with like what they're trying to do with Canada and Greenland and stuff like that. Some people have that theory coming around, and but then, you know, I actually do think, you know, it is a literal battle, because it does say gather them to battle. So that's the way I see it. So but yeah, there's always some different theories. It's fun to talk about what exactly this battle is going to look like, when is it going to happen, stuff like that. You know, I do believe we're close to the end, but I don't know for sure, right? Like we just don't know, right? But one of the reasons I mentioned in the previous video, you know, I believe that it could be involving this battle in the north is because of all the predictive programming. I mean, if you look at the news, you look at the media and stuff like that, they've been predicting this stuff. They've been talking about it, warning people about it for a while. You know, they've been talking about this war in the Arctic. They've been mentioning it. The news has been covering it. Even media, like movies and shows and stuff like that talk, you know, like Game of Thrones and stuff like that, talk about like this battle in the north and stuff like that, like in pop culture and stuff. So I don't think that's a coincidence either. So that's why I think there is like a lot of predictive programming about this event that will happen, and I think that this will be the last event that happens before the end. And I think that this is going to be World War III, especially because it says the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. I think that's a hint to give us how big this war is, why I believe it's World War III. It's going to involve many nations, right? So I mean, yeah, it's just fun to think about like what this battle is, how is it going to look like and stuff like that. But I could easily see there being something going on up in the Arctic, and the people involved in this war literally compassing the saints, surrounding the saints, because the saints, the camp of the saints in New Jerusalem, are up hovering in the north, in the sky, right? So yeah, so it's interesting. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. It is interesting to speculate about what that can be. Yeah, Gog and Magog, it's just interesting, the wording here, but you know what my thoughts are on that. And so, yeah, it's fun to talk about Gog and Magog, the battle of Gog and Magog, how this will look like, how this battle will play out before the end comes. So, all right, let me know what you guys think. All right, God bless.